I recently posted on the YouTube community tab and on Facebook, and I didn't quite expect the level of engagement that I got from this post, and it was quite a good level of engagement. And here's what I posted about. How on earth can the younger generation be inspired to learn the organ when they aren't entering churches and concert halls when they are being played? Inspiration is also derived from a memorable performance. And let's not forget the barrier to entry for an instrument. You can't just go down to the music store and pick one up. A digital piano costs significantly less than a digital organ. What can we do? Let me know in the comments. So this was just a random musing thought I had on a lazy afternoon, I suppose. And I guess I'm quite lucky because I have my digital organ back there. And yes, it is a digital organ, but I don't actually use the built-in sounds. I can use them, but I use a virtual organ software called Haltwerk, and that's a story for another day. But if you do watch my channel regularly, I make recordings of that instrument, and what you hear is not the organ sounds, the internal organ sounds. It's just used as a MIDI controller to play real pipe organs recorded from churches all around the world. As I said, I was quite surprised at the level of engagement, and a few people made some really, really interesting comments. So let's look at one comment from John. Many digital keyboards have organ sounds available as well as piano sounds. While this is certainly not the same as having 2 or more manuals plus pedals, it's enough to explore a bit of the repertoire. That doesn't solve the problem of introducing people to organ music, but once they've found it, it's an easy way to start playing. John does have a good point here. You can do a lot on an organ with a single manual and with no pedals. There's quite an enormous amount of repertoire for it. When people think of the organ, they think of an instrument which has at least 2 manuals and a pedal board because that's what makes it unique. Yes, there are very beautiful instruments out there, chamber organs that can be moved around. Or there's one particular single manual instrument that's close by to me at a place called Adamshurst, which is a very historic place and is home to a historic organ that just has a single manual as well. But the problem with these digital keyboards that have organ sounds, they only have one organ sound from my experience, and that sound is always the plano or the planum registration, which is basically the sound which you most associate with the organ. That let me play you a piece of music that will describe the only organ sound that I've ever heard on a digital keyboard. The organ is able to produce an extremely variable dynamic range and range of colors and sounds. Just having this one sound available doesn't do it justice at all. The next comment is from Stephen. He says, I would argue that organists, particularly when it comes to church, are not being paid nearly enough, especially when one considers the work an organist puts in. It is a disgrace, particularly in instances where parishes can afford to pay an organist but choose not to. People then wonder why the organ is not being used nearly enough. Stephen opens Pandora's box, and I do have quite a lot to say about this matter, but I want to stay on track with the purpose of this video, and that's inspiring the younger generation to learn the organ. There's no silver bullet to what Stephen is kind of raising here, and that's another topic for another day. But I suggest, if you don't feel you're being treated right, go to another church, go to another parish. Just as artwork isn't appreciated by everybody, doesn't devalue that particular piece of art. You just have to place yourself with the right people and the right audience. Let's hear from Craig. Craig writes, sometimes I think we need to get back to uncomplicated bright music, not something that sounds like a cat is walking on the keys. I'm trying to imagine what he means by this, and I think I kind of know what he means. I think perhaps he's heard a lot of academic music, and don't get me wrong, I love that type of music. I love the big, great Bach toccatas and fugues and preludes and fugues, all that kind of stuff. And Craig is actually from a parish which is, about half an hour drive north of me in Walla Walla, Zion Lutheran Church. And it's home to a 2-manual and pedal instrument, and it's quite comprehensive. It's been added to over time, so it's got quite a big stop list. I haven't actually recorded there properly before, but I've played the organ several times, so I should make a visit out there one day again. And I have to make note of not playing music that sounds like a cat is walking on the keys. Actually, that makes me laugh too, because I do play the Denny Bedard Cat Suite, so perhaps I might put that in the program, and I'm pretty sure that is not what he means, but it is uncomplicated bright music. It's very, very accessible. So back to what Craig mentions here, we need to get back to uncomplicated bright music. So I think that's really providing a program that is accessible to the audience you're playing to. If I'm playing to a group of organists or an audience full of organists or classical music aficionados, I'm going to be choosing quite a different program there. And if I'm playing to a local small parish town, well, I have to consider what they would probably like to hear. So I have to choose well-known pieces that are not too long, not too complicated. Complicated in the sense that it's too academic. Wouldn't be playing Raga, for example. So I think Craig does have a good point there. If I was playing to a group of primary school students, well, I would pick something, and I can't quite think of that at the top of my head, but something that will really strike them very quickly and very early on. I'm pretty sure that a group of primary school students would ask me to play the Toccata and Fugue in D minor by J.S. Bach. Martin writes, exposure. Make YouTube videos. Make those TikTok video clips and don't just play hymns and classical music. Play all sorts of things and do stuff no one else does. The younger generation will find and figure it out. Martin does have a point, and Martin, I do hope and I do know that you are subscribed to my channel. I do make YouTube videos. I was on TikTok. I still have the account, but I just found that it took up too much of my time scrolling through those clips. I spent more time scrolling instead of more time creating, so I got rid of TikTok. Yes, Martin, you're right. We can't just keep playing hymns. Classical music, no, I think we have to introduce and keep the classical music tradition alive. And there is classical music that can resonate with the younger people. We just have to make it and present it in a way that will resonate with them.